When he came back from vacation, I watched from my grandmother's kitchen window. He pulled into that shiny black driveway he was so proud of. Then he stopped, opened the car door, and just stood there, because a metal fence post was sticking straight up, through the middle of his asphalt. His 12-foot driveway was gone. All he had left was 20 inches. And suddenly, I wasn't the quiet neighbor anymore. Let me tell you something about quiet people. Just because we don't scream doesn't mean we don't see everything. My grandmother lived in a suburb just outside Chicago. The kind of neighborhood where houses are squeezed together so tightly you can hear your neighbor sneeze through the kitchen window. Most of the lots were narrow, 25 feet wide, except one. The man who lived next to my grandmother, let's call him Mr. Alvarez, owned a second lot. 35 feet wide, grass, space, breathing room. In a neighborhood where space meant status, he had it. He and my grandmother moved in the same day in 1958. They grew old side by side. Shared food, shared stories, shared life. That extra lot wasn't just dirt. It was pride, security, a lifetime investment. Now behind all the houses was an alley, and the garages faced backward. Years ago, Mr. Alvarez built his garage with doors on both ends. He always joked, in case I ever want to build a driveway through my side lot. He never did. 60 years passed, just grass. Then one summer in the mid-80s, everything shifted. One afternoon, he noticed the neighbor on the other side of the empty lot, we'll call him Carlos, smashing a giant hole into his garage wall. Dust everywhere, concrete chunks falling. "What are you doing?" Mr. Alvarez asked. Carlos grinned like he'd already won something. "Putting in a door like yours." It didn't seem strange at first. Carlos threw huge backyard parties. Loud music, packed patios. Maybe he just wanted more access. Then Mr. Alvarez left for a 2-week golf trip with his wife. When he came back, there was a driveway, a thick, dark ribbon of fresh asphalt running along Carlos' house. Except it wasn't just along his house. It sliced 10 to 12 feet into the empty lot, into Mr. Alvarez's land. I remember the way my grandmother described his face when he saw it. Not anger at first, confusion, like when someone moves your furniture in the dark and you stub your toe. He walked it slowly, measured with his eyes. No, that's not right. He knocked on Carlos' door. "What is this?" Carlos didn't hesitate. "That's the property line." And then he handed over a survey. But something felt wrong. The lines were too dark in some spots, too faded in others, numbers slightly crooked. It had been copied, and copied, and copied again. Back then, Xerox machines were the closest thing to Photoshop. Mr. Alvarez went home and dug through old files. Yellowed paper, mortgage documents, original survey, compared them. His hands were shaking. The lines didn't match. He went back. "This isn't correct." Carlos sighed, then shrugged. "Yeah, you caught me. Just like that. No shame, no apology. You don't even use that lot," he said. "And I'm tired of the potholes in the alley." That sentence, that entitlement, it wasn't about the asphalt. It was about disrespect. The weeks that followed were ugly. Raised voices, arguments in the alley, neighbors watching from behind curtains. And here's what still hurts to think about. During that time, Mr. Alvarez had a heart attack. Stress does that to people. Especially when you've worked your whole life for something, and someone decides it's theirs now. After that, the arguing stopped. Not because it was settled, but because Carlos assumed he had won. Months passed, then almost a year. Carlos used his shiny driveway every day. Parked multiple cars, hosted parties, walked confidently across land that wasn't his. Then he planned a family trip to Mexico. And that's when the quiet man made his move. The morning Carlos left, Mr. Alvarez called a licensed surveyor. They measured everything, carefully, legally, precisely. And here's the twist. The actual property line wasn't 3 feet from Carlos' house like everyone assumed. It was less than 2 feet. 20 inches. 20. Carlos had stolen more than he realized. And he was about to lose even more. "Next call? A fencing company. Install it directly on the property line," he said calmly. "No buffer, no grace, right on the line." I remember watching from the kitchen window as workers drilled posts through fresh asphalt. The sound echoed down the block. Metal through pavement, concrete poured into holes, post after post, straight through the middle of that beautiful driveway. When Carlos came home, he didn't see it at first. He pulled into the alley, turned the wheel, and stopped, got out slowly, stared. The fence cut his driveway in half like a scar. He stormed over. "You can't do this." Mr. Alvarez stepped outside, survey papers in hand. "Yes, I can," Carlos yelled. Cursed, threatened lawsuits. But here's the thing about property lines. They don't care about feelings. The fence was exactly where the legal boundary stood. So Carlos went from a 12-foot driveway to a 20-inch walkway. And it gets better. On the other side of his house, his air conditioning unit, a skinny garden, meaning unless he ripped those out, that 20-inch strip was his only path from front to back without walking through the house. Every single day, for 5 years, 5 years of squeezing sideways, 5 years of seeing that fence, 5 years of remembering the gamble he lost. Eventually, Mr. Alvarez had the asphalt removed from his land. Fresh sod rolled out like a green victory flag. He sued for the cost of removing the driveway, $8,000 to $12,000. Carlos refused to pay, so a lien was placed on his house. And when he finally sold it, the money came straight from the sale. Justice, collected in full. The best part wasn't the money. It wasn't even the fence. It was the lesson. Carlos thought he was smarter. Thought an older, quiet man wouldn't fight back. Thought entitlement would outweigh patience. But patience won, and in the end, he didn't just lose asphalt. He lost pride, money, convenience, and every time he squeezed through that 20-inch walkway, he remembered, there's something powerful about boundaries. People will test them, push them, sometimes step right over them. But when you calmly enforce them, when you do it legally, precisely, patiently, that's not revenge, that's justice. If this story gave you that slow burn satisfaction, hit like. Tell me in the comments, would you have waited a year like she did? And subscribe for more stories where quiet people prove something very important. Underestimating someone is the most expensive mistake you can make.